Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber link me something, which I'll show for you guys here while I do a little bit of reloading and get in my place of Zen, doing my cultural Texan craft. And by the way, I had one person finally complain about me doing this, and I want to say to you, this is part of my culture. This is part of my heritage. This is actually a craft skill that I'm doing. So if you're offended by my cultural craft skill, you sir are a racist and a bigot. Just kidding, but not really. All right, that aside, they linked this thing that Kinobody said. Someone had said, why can't Jason Blaha lift what you lift? And Kinobody, however we say it, basically implied, I guess, that he believed that I wasn't as strong as him, first of all, which is ridiculous. And then implied that if I did Kinobody, and I assume he means his program and not him. God, I hope he means not him. I'm in a monogamous relationship. Or Gallagher, just so you know. But, yeah, that I should do his program. Well, I went and looked at his so-called overhead pressing. He talks about he can overhead press 100-pound dumbbells. But when I watched him with a barbell, he couldn't lock out 175. Now, he'll claim he intentionally wasn't locking it out, but it is an ego thing. I know that he talks about not locking out being beneficial, and I did a video on that the other day, which I'll link here for you guys, obviously. But his implication is that he's intentionally doing that. Well, 175, he only struggled with the fifth rep and couldn't lock any of them, which means since he struggled with the fifth rep on partials, not even getting within 6 inches of the lockout, he isn't actually strong enough to overhead press 175 for a single rep. That's over his max. So that being said, he's not even strong enough to do that. There's stuff on my Instagram. You guys check it out, showing what I overhead press. I do my work sets with like 205 right now, and I lock them, and a lot of times I hold them at the lockout for a 1 count. So I'm not really sure what his implication is, that he's stronger than me, and I can assure you there's no way he can handle 100-pound dumbbells. But it's really interesting, you know, because here's the thing that I've said before, and the more I learn about this guy, the more I realize he doesn't actually know anything about training or exercise science. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples of how he's going to hurt people by not understanding what he's talking about and prove that he doesn't know what he's talking about. All right, I've already discussed the elbow thing, and we're going to discuss a knee issue also here in a bit. But first I want to finish this lockout thing. This guy fancies himself to be, again, the Bruce Wayne of the YouTube fitness. You know, like I said, if you can claim a title, then own it. It's all good. I'm not going to hate on that. But what I am about to hate on is the fact that he's got like a heavy bag he hits and everything. And yet he trains in a way that will decelerate the connection of his punches. This is basic exercise science. Specificity of training and joint angle specificity. Your strength transfer only transfers 15 degrees beyond the range of motion that you train something through. He is stopping more than 15 degrees from his lockouts on his presses. So, Greg O'Gallagher, what I would say to you is that if you actually want to be a better puncher, and if you want to be Bruce Wayne and Batman, you damn well better be able to punch. Why are you specifically training in a way that will train your brain and your nervous system to slow down as you get closer to the end of a punch? Now, every lift has a deceleration curve. This is common knowledge. Every freshman exercise science student knows this. This is nothing unusual that would be considered controversial in any coaching or exercise science world. All right, there is a deceleration curve. And that deceleration curve can be affected by the way that you train. Ideally, if you want to be explosive on the end of a lockout, like the end of a punch, when you punch, if you want to be explosive on the end, you need it to connect hard. You need speed. Speed equals power. In order to achieve that, you need to be able to punch fast, and you need the deceleration curve to extend out to just the very end of that punch. If you are training to not lock out at all, you're actually training a much shallower deceleration curve. It's actually decelerating a lot further, like 6 or 8 inches in. So you're training yourself to decelerate halfway into a punch, which means at that point, halfway in, you start losing tremendous amounts of speed and power. If you're training that way in the gym, how in the world do you expect to be able to punch hard? How are you going to be the Bruce Wayne of the fitness world? And you know what I think? I think it's because he doesn't actually know anything about basic exercise science. And a guy who's selling programs and paying money, because I've seen all his commercial ads, he's actually marketing and sponsoring ads to get his channel promoted, again, using that family money, and then selling programs, but he doesn't actually know basic exercise science. Or he would know that the way that he's training is actually reducing his ability to punch hard. It's just something he seems to care about, and it's, again, sees himself as a Batman. So, again, doesn't know basic exercise science. And kind of funny, again, that he would even imply that I'm not as strong as him. I am dramatically stronger than him. It's comical. I'm not even sure where he would get such an idea. That is one thing you guys can't say about me with some of these guys that you want to put me into conflicts with. A lot of these guys, they might look better than me in your eyes, and that's okay, but when you start implying that they're stronger than me, come on, guys. I'm not the strongest guy in the world or even on YouTube, but I am dramatically stronger than 90% of these clowns that I get compared to. So I don't even know why that happens. It's just ridiculous. But that aside, let's look at the other thing that I saw. Someone else pointed out something else that he says. And I really want to hammer on this because this guy is going to hurt people. And I honestly want to say that after hearing this, seeing the elbow thing, seeing him not understand the lockouts with punching, this is someone who really and truly should not be giving workout advice to other people. He needs to go learn some basics, read an exercise science freshman textbook, or go take a basic class on exercise science at a local community college, and learn something before he starts charging people. It's just ridiculous that he's putting information out with this level of knowledge of training. And here's what's scary. And again, I have a lot of students of exercise science who watch my channel, who are working on their degrees, so people who have a degree in it, and they love a lot of this stuff when I discuss it. And he's saying that you need to train your hamstrings less and your quads more to be more aesthetic. He's wanting people to be basically what's called quad dominant. Train the posterior chain less and the anterior chain more on your legs. Because again, he thinks it's more aesthetic. Well, we're going to address the aesthetic part in a minute, but let's talk about injury prevention. So essentially, he wants people to train in a way that's going to make them less functional and more prone to knee injuries and hamstring tears doing real-world activities. What do I mean by real-world activities? You need to run in an emergency. You need to actually sprint down the street as fast as you possibly can. Or you need to jump. You need to run and jump over something. What do you think happens to people who are extremely quad dominant in those situations? Anybody care to guess? They rip hamstrings. Those are the people who tear their hamstrings doing simple things like sprinting or jumping. Also, by being quad dominant with weaker hamstrings, you are more prone to knee joint injuries while running, jumping, side shifting particularly. If you need to sprint to the side shift. And again, a guy who wants to pretend like he's some functional Bruce Wayne Batman type guy, the legacy he wants to give, he is actually advising people and apparently training in a way himself that is going to destabilize his knee joint in any sort of real world situation where he needs to side shift under load or under high speed. Which is going to cause him to injure his knee at a much, much higher rate than if they had strong hamstrings. So he is actually advising people to train in a way that is going to cause them to be injured in any sort of real emergency, fighting, or sports environment. Again, someone who doesn't know basic exercise science, who shouldn't be giving people advice, who's going to hurt people. Again, after hearing these two things, I'm really committed to the fact that this guy really needs to not be giving advice. I mean, he is literally worse than the CT Fletchers of the world out there. I like CT's personality. I don't always think his advice is safe. I think CT could get people hurt really easy, but I actually like his personality. So sometimes overlook that aspect. But this guy is actually going to get people hurt even worse, because while CT might get people hurt in the gym, Greg is giving people advice on ways to train that are not only going to hurt them in the gym, but are going to create muscle imbalances that are going to make people get hurt in the real world, going to make them inferior at combat sports, which is crazy because a guy who seems to actually act like that's something that matters to him as part of his persona, he's actually training and advising people to train in a way that's going to make him a worse fighter than someone who trained correctly. It's going to reduce their punching power, and it's going to increase the chance of them injuring a knee or a hamstring in any physical conflict, like dramatically different in both of those areas. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot. So, again, this is someone who is actually like either so ignorant that he doesn't know any better, he doesn't know enough to know how ignorant he is, or he is trying to intentionally harm people. Either way, it isn't good. And then the worst part with the quad dominant thing, he's talking about being aesthetic. Well, I'm assuming most people are aesthetic because they want to attract other people. That's the only real reason I can think of why someone would want to be aesthetic, is to be pleasing to the eye, to your preferred sex. Why else would you do that? I can't think of any other reason, because most of these people aren't going to be models or anything. They're not going to make a career at it. Well, as a man, his advice to do less posterior chain training is going to make your glutes less developed. What has every study ever done shown that the most popular muscle is with women? Like, what do women notice first? What body part? What muscle attracts them the most? Anyone care to guess? It's the glutes. The glutes. So he wants you to train the body part that's going to attract women the least. Let me ask you guys another question. What do you think gay men notice the most? I'll give you a hint. It's the glutes. So either one that you're trying to attract, his advice is going to make you less sexually attractive. It's not going to help you there. So what the hell is he doing? Again, this is a guy who really and truly doesn't know what he's talking about. All right, guys. But that's enough of that rambling. That's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.